Troubleshooter was the start of something big, business on television. Not emulating the financial pages of the newspaper, but with stories and personality. The producer, Robert Thurkel, went on to launch Back to the Floor and Blood on the Carpet, leading the way to 21st century equivalents like Dragon's Den. But it's a fitting tribute to Sir John Harvey Jones himself to see the first ever episode of Troubleshooter, where he offers advice to Triang, an iconic British brand desperately seeking rejuvenation. Sir John didn't want manufacturing reduced to a small, quirky piece of national heritage. He wanted to turn it round, to build a future out of our industrial past. And who better to do that than him? What a contrast to the power dressing management consultant. With his idiosyncratic demeanour and scruffy hair, Central Casting could have offered him up as a latter-day John Bull, the plucky Brit, armed only with common sense, who talks to the man with the screwdriver to find out what's going on. In the episode of Troubleshooter you're about to see, 2 lines perhaps say it all. That's the story of British industry, Sir John says of the dilemma facing the company he's visiting. And Troubleshooter was always the story of British industry. The early 90s was an era of economic reinvention, and Sir John's hard-headed but sympathetic approach matched the public sense that industry needed to be sorted out and needed to be saved. A lot has changed since 1990, when Sir John Harvey Jones first walked onto our screens to become an unlikely TV star, our first celebrity industrialist. Since then, TV has become a much bigger industry, and industry has become a smaller part of the economic landscape. But however far we've come, Sir John and his several series of Troubleshooter have a secure place in our memories of the time.
At the 1988 Harrogate Toy Fair, a party is being thrown to celebrate the relaunch of what was once the world's largest toy firm.
The magic team! Triang! Triang!
Triang once exported toys all over the world. Now the name is owned by a Manchester toy firm that has itself fallen on harder times. The chairman, Sidney Orchant, loves toys and wants to expand and revive his firm's flagging fortunes using the Triang name. But Orchant will have to convince major shareholder and group chief executive Howard Stanton that the strategy makes sense. City tax accountant Stanton isn't sentimental about the toy business.
Trusted by Rolls-Royce Motors of Crewe to make a sit-in replica.
Expanding Triang will mean investing a lot of money in an industry that is notoriously fickle.
Well, what do you think of the quality, Katie?
Can they revive the famous name and make Triang great again? Sir John Harvey Jones is one of Britain's most famous and unconventional businessmen. He drives a donkey and trap for relaxation. But until recently, he held the reins of Britain's largest manufacturing company, ICI, taking it to profits of more than £1 billion. Voted most impressive industrialist of the year 3 years running, he is totally committed to the revival of British industry. A month before the crucial Triang relaunch of 1988, he agreed to advise the company on the difficult decisions that lay ahead.
I care about Triang for 2 reasons. First of all, because it was and is a manufacturing company. And my dedication to manufacturing is well known, and I still believe it's desperately important for Britain to be successful in manufacturing industry. Secondly, I care because, of course, it's a great name from my childhood. And there aren't that many great names and it would be nice to try and help one that's struggling to succeed.
To Park Lane House comes a large lorry with a small load. Two important-looking boxes.
By the 1950s, Triang, founded after the First World War, had grown to have its very own annual show in London's Park Lane.
They're on their way to a fair organised by the biggest toy-making firm in the world. Toys are a big industry in Britain, both for home consumption and for export. And this one firm accounts for a third of the total output. Most popular attraction in the show is the smallest electric railway in the world, with a track gauge of less than half an inch and to a scale of 3 millimeters to the foot.
During the 1970s, like so many other great names, Triang nearly disappeared as it was run down by owner after owner. Finally, in 1983, Triang was taken over by a toy firm named after its founder's daughter, Shana Orchant. She's now jointly responsible for the firm's sales.
Well, I grew up with it. I mean, I was only 4 when the company was named Shana, and I was just used to it. And I was used to seeing the big vans on the roads with my name on.
Shana's father, Sidney Orchant, wants to capitalise on the Triang name by putting it on all his toys. He also wants to invest in the company and expand. But will Sir John think the risks of growth can restore the company's fallen profits?
Do we go for goal? Do we say it's there to be taken? We've got a very good product range, very good name. Do we now say this is the time to aim for being one of the great toy companies in the world? Coupled with the question I have to ask him is, will we make money?
The company specialises in wheeled toys, but the machinery for moulding the plastic is outdated, so Orchant wants to spend £1.5 million on new machinery. He also wants to diversify into new toys and even garden furniture. The whole company is concerned about the future.
It could be organised a lot better, so that we could get a lot more production out and make the workforce a lot happier with paying everything.
Sales could sell more, and I think advertising will help a lot. Production-wise, we've got an awful long way to go, and again, Sir John could help us tremendously, I'm sure.
I would like to feel that we'll all have an opportunity to have a discussion with him, time being available. It won't be easy, because he could also possibly criticise, but honest criticism never did anybody any harm.
But from the city, new investor Howard Stanton and his associates see the problem rather differently. With the share price low, they moved in and now own 25% of the company. What Stanton wants to know is how best to maximise their profit.
I'm interested in what Sir John might say, because whilst I have been in industrial companies, I've never been in at the sharp end. I've never run a business. I've been a professional accountant and I've been a finance director of a large public company, but I've never actually run a factory. Sir John has, and therefore what he has to say from the shop floor will be very educational.
Yes, that's it all right, Alf. This is the new bit of the factory here, and that's the mill itself. It's unbelievable, that's just making toys, isn't it? Over the years in industry, I've visited hundreds of plants and companies all over the world, and I've always found that it's quite easy to get a feel of the thing very quickly. In this case, I've also done a fair amount of paper research. This company's got big choices to make. Is it going to go for new products? Is it going to invest in new plant? Or is it going to invest in different businesses altogether? So now what I need to do is to meet as many people as possible to see whether they can manage their own destiny. I suppose, at worst, one could say, look, the fight's not worth the candle, and you ought to throw in. At best, I hope that I can make a few suggestions which may actually help Triang set out and be great again. Mr. Orchard, please.
What name is it, please?
John Harvey Jones.
1 moment. Would you like to sign the book?
Sure. Just wondering how on earth your plant survived with
No,
this.
it's it's John Harvey Jones.
I'm absolutely frozen.
Okay.
How long have you worked here? 20 months.
Come in.
Hi, this must seem like the coming of the Lord. It's taking forever. I'm very glad to meet you at last, anyway.
Chris, would you like to take Sir John's coat and case?
The person I most want to meet is the man at the top, because he sets the tone of the whole company. I need to earn his trust, to get to know him, and find out how he sees his problems. I must say, this is a most fantastic mill. I've seen the picture of it, but it's, you know, it's even bigger,
Yeah,
more dramatic.
it's a little bit old-fashioned, it's 6-storey, but it's the actual mill is 200,000 square feet.
Yes.
That would cost a lot of money if it was modern.
You're
A lot
not
of
kidding.
money.
You're not
So,
kidding.
as you will see as we go along, you'll be looking at a mixture of old and new.
Well, that's the story of British industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever you are.
Would you like to
Great.
go? What we've done for 88, we're branching out into garden furniture, plastic garden furniture. The
That's a pretty competitive business, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And they don't seem to be inhibited by distribution costs, because I notice most of the plastic garden furniture tends to be made overseas.
Right.
Anyway.
You're quite right what you said. Most is made overseas. There is no British manufacturer, for want of a better term, who's had the bottle to take them on. But again, I don't know what your opinion is on this, but
The problem that's beginning to emerge... My first impressions of Sydney are that he's a rather old-fashioned, slightly autocratic sort of leader. On the other hand, he loves the toy business, and he's determined to try and save Triang. The bad news is he sees his salvation rather more through diversifying into making different sorts of products, and that's always risky. And secondly, he wants new machinery, and that's going to be expensive. Trouble is, though, that, I mean, I don't need to tell you that the cost of new machinery is bloody high. And just looking at your accounts, your actual return on sales is not that high.
we could go with no technology, and I'd like you to give this, I'm sure you will, a deep thought. We can go into 88 and spend nothing on plant technology and get through. Okay, we'll make a little bit less off the chair, but we would get through without spending, say, $1.5 million. Some people on the board says, well, that'll be a very good return on capital. It'll give us then an extremely good return on capital. What is your problem?
You can always have a super return on capital if your capital is clapped out and sounds little in the books, but in fact you're running the business down, of course, aren't you? When I got on the shop floor, it was soon apparent that the machinery is indeed run down. And to make matters worse, the layout doesn't seem very logical and the whole floor doesn't seem to work right.
My God, you get round that fast, don't you?
Whatever I may think about this factory, one thing is clear. A lot of the workforce are extremely loyal and have worked here a great many years.
God, that's magical.
Ian Lever, the assistant managing director who's taking me around, has been here over 15.
Maybe I could introduce you.
Hello.
Storage down this end of the floor, through to the assembly lines running down in that area.
Well, this is a controlled chaos or uncontrolled chaos, isn't it? How the hell does it...
Controlled chaos. Very controlled.
But I mean, there's no material flow here that one can see at all, is there?
May not be apparent to you. It's certainly apparent to the people who are here.
Hello.
Morning, Yvonne.
What are you all doing?
We're doing the screw patch from the Cooper's line. There in the patch.
It's the job of the management team to try and make sure that the flow of materials is carried out as efficiently and economically as possible.
Is it more efficient for you to do it than for them to collect their own?
Well, it doesn't look bad like it.
Yeah. That's balmy, isn't it?
They're tied onto the handles of the slide.
Yeah.
What do you mean, is it better to do it like that than what you get?
Well, a lot of other places, the people would just come and help themselves. There'd be great bins and they'd just come and help themselves.
Yeah, but you can't move off the line. Once you're on a job on the line, you can't move off it to keep the line flowing.
Yeah. I must say, this whole line, the whole material flow seems absolutely batty here. What do you like? I mean, is it always there when you want it or need it? I'm also worried about the bonus rates. Bonuses don't work unless the workforce know the whole time what effect it's having on their pay. It's almost impossible to work this out here. All they know is that they can get about £15 more on top of the basic £75 they earn on the assembly floor. But even then, you'd not earn a hell of a lot more, would you?
Pardon?
Even then, you would earn a lot more.
Well, I think if production was increasing, we could get more out.
Plainly, if everything...
Wages could be increased accordingly,
Yes.
because the more the company earns, and the more they should pay the workers, obviously. Yeah, I do.
And they actually get a sheet every week.
Saying what they have earned?
Yes. Yeah.
And where's this member of the Works Committee, though, and going to meet?
Which is the nearest? Let's find one who's near to us.
Which one is it? Ken Mullen.
Ken Mullen is the nearest one.
Ken Mullen's just gone for the luncheon party.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah. I'm sure we'll find another one as we go around.
I was asking about safety. I'm beginning to worry about putting a lot more money behind this state of organisation. It's on people like this that the day-to-day running of the factory depends, and for that to work well they need a lot of information and the ability to work together and know each other's positions. Do you adjust the stock levels? Do you say, OK, I'm going to adjust the stock level to this or that or whatever?
Yeah. In a sense, yeah.
And you know what the cost of holding the stock is, and you know what...
In terms of sale values, yes.
Yeah. And do you know the profit on each item?
Not altogether, because the profit varies from toy to toy.
Well, that's right, but that's why I'm asking. Yeah. Unless you do know. But who's optimising the profit out of the factory then?
Probably our sales department.
But they're not.
Andrew Rycroft, did you think?
I bet they're not.
Hey, Andrew, when you...
Management accounting.
Management accountants we've got...
I bet they aren't either. All they're doing is finding out what you've done. Very interesting. What's all the flat doodle about the union?
Well, I don't really think there's much of a flap on about this now. You know, I think if any comments on that, we'll have to see the chairman. And I think it's all being dealt with by the chairman at this moment in time.
So you either don't know, or you wouldn't like to get involved in the argument.
We've had a works committee for many years, and that's served us well.
Yes.
You know, that's all I can say.
But it can't have served you that well, can it, if there's a lot of pressure for unionisation? Well, Ian, I'd just like to check some broad impressions. And like all factories and all businesses, it's a bit of a curate's egg, and I'm only trying to make a snap judgment on the factory. The good news is the building is super. I mean, potentially you've got a decent building, you've got a very willing workforce, albeit somewhat disorganised, and I'll come to that in a moment. The bad news is the material flow is a mess, largely, again, because of the way that the building has been laid out, and I know you've got plans to do things about that. The capital machinery is clapped out. I'm worried, really, about also the middle management. I think the middle management, they don't really seem to me to have enough in them to be able to make major changes, or a lot of them. They can probably keep the thing running as it is. If I look at this against the best in the world, you're not starting with a management ability to fight the best of the world, and I don't think you're starting with a capital equipment ability to fight the best of the world. And both of those could be put right. Is that, on a very short run round, more or less fair, or...?
I'm sure that there are one or two elements that you have missed out, but at this stage, I think you've got a little more to see.
Well, it was a very interesting morning, confirmed some suspicions, raised others. I'm, at the moment, and I'm only about halfway through looking at the factory, I'm more worried about the basic strategy than I thought I would be. because essentially they view the toy business as more or less static, and they're trying to save it by diversification. That's a notoriously dangerous and difficult thing to do. I've summed up already where I see the factory. The factory could be made to support the ambitions that they have, no question about that. But a lot of things need to be done. And I've still got big question marks about really how competitive the whole thing is and how knowledgeable they are about the degree of competition they may face. So that's what this afternoon is going to start fleshing out a bit, I hope.
Of the meeting are ready.
My first call after lunch is with John Veazey, who's the numbers man here. Understanding the numbers is one of the keys of running a business, which is why I was anxious to meet him.
Hello, Sir John. Sorry
to
to keep you.
Sorry to have interrupted your call.
Nice to meet you.
Could I have a general chat about the numbers? I need to get a bit more feel than I've got at the... I've got, I hope, a reasonable feel of the factory and the sort of business problems. But I use numbers to put things in scale.
Yes.
I certainly asked John all about the numbers in every way I can think of, and I'm more than pleased with that, because he really does understand what's going on. Now I've got to go on to the sales team to see whether they understand the marketing position. Hello.
Oh,
glad to meet you. You must be Shana.
I'm Shana.
First time I've ever met a girl who's got a factory named after her.
David Biggs.
Glad to meet you,
Pleased to
David.
meet you, John.
Well, first of all, I'm delighted to actually see the products, or hope to see the products.
So, can I have a look at that?
Certainly.
And then I'd very much like to hear a bit about the commercial situation and the competition, and, you know, where you see yourself in the marketplace and where you see the main competition coming from.
I see. What would you like to do first? Look at the product?
Well, let's look at the product first. That's always a good start.
I think probably, first of all, we should go to our new developments for the year.
Yes.
We have developed a very new style of baby walker.
That is a new style, isn't it?
I think you'll agree that is very, very attractive.
Mm.
Unlike most baby walkers on the market, where you have 4 wheels and a handle at the back.
Yeah. The sales team are obviously thrilled to bits about the prospects for their new nursery products. But I see that as a risky move away from the things they make now, and I need to find out what the market position and growth prospects are for their basic wheel toy business. No, but look, I'm still after a feel of the underlying marketplace, because, you see, what Sydney's talking about is putting a lot more money behind this market.
Right.
Now, the question, therefore, is, what is that market, what is that additional money, because it's going to add to your costs, going to serve? Mm-hmm. And if there's an intrinsic growth in the market, because either more kids are being born, or the available stock of kids are getting better toys, I mean, there can only be three...
That is the difficulty in actually putting a figure on the wheel toy market, because there's a pram, there's a bicycle...
No, I'm not looking for great
so
accuracy, I'm looking for the feel.
No.
And I'm having some difficulty in getting there. These marvellous wooden floors. Hello, Jonathan. How do you do? I'm glad to meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
Well, many thanks, Shana. Most grateful.
Lovely meeting.
Great. All the best. I'll see you again, I hope, sometime. Tell me a bit about the design function here.
We're involved in just about every aspect of the design here, the corporate design that we've just...
Well, first of all, what's the design department? Are you it?
Virtually.
I still worry at the moment, and I'd like to think about this, that trying to launch 2 new products in 2 new business areas on very tight timescales, trying also to re-equip the factory all in 1 year with, in my judgment, and this may be harsh, a fairly weak middle management, and everybody already being driven extremely hard, I think, is going to pose very great risks to you.
Life is a risk.
Sure.
And you make your move when you're on the upturn.
Mm.
You seldom can make your move when you're on the downturn.
But the baby trainer is on a pretty tight...
When you mention the baby trainer, it has had exposure. And rightly or wrongly, that is why we're going for it, because if we are right, we have an opportunity to take the whole market in one swoop, because we may have the only baby trainer that will pass the safety standards test. So taking the falls and against, we shouldn't come up on the wrong side. So at this moment, we are looking at manufacturing 2 new products next year, which is, to us, that is no great load.
Well, they're really in the nutcrackers, because they haven't got the organisation they need to expand in the nursery products and the garden furniture, and to make the essential investments in new machinery. Now I want to meet Howard Stanton, the man from the city who has the potential power to change this situation. The essence of the problem that really I want to talk to Howard about is that unless they re-equip that factory, slowly but surely that business will go down the neck. See, he has got an option. He could allow the business to just run down, sell the factory, and get his money back. I don't think that would be the right thing to do, because I think the business is savable. But if the business is savable, then he's got to do a lot of things, and I need to find out whether those are things that he sees as being worthwhile against the other usages that he can put the money to. The problem is they are hell set on putting up another $1.5 million into the business. From your point of view, looking at the group, you've got lots of other places to put it.
It's a fundamental question for me. Do you say, if you believe that first loss is cheapest, that you sell the whole of the toy manufacturing side for the best possible price at the earliest possible stage to any number of people that may be interested, and you redeploy the resources somewhere else?
Well, I'd be horrified if that's what you did, because that's not what I'm into. I mean, that has to be your choice. You actually have got that choice.
I was encouraged to come into this business because it had a brand name, and I personally am a believer in brand names, because I feel that with the right quality of product, a brand name will always survive more easily than a non-brand name. I think it's probably stating the obvious.
No, I agree with that entirely.
And I also feel, although I haven't been into the business very many times, it would be a great shame. I don't want to get too emotional of it as a financier looking after shareholders and employees, but it would be a great shame if that name died again.
Me too.
But it's died twice before, and there must have been reasons why it died twice before, and they couldn't have been unconnected with some of the fundamental points that you're bringing out today. So
what's happened so far, as you well know, is that they've run down the capital in the business. So there's hardly any capital employed, really, in the machinery. The layout is poor. The efficiency of the factory, I guess, by world standards, is almost certainly too low. So you've got to put all of those things right. Now, the question to me is whether you've got a management there that can actually both manage it, and if you put that money in, can then fly it.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, and you're looking very well.
It's going to be a jolly hard run for Howard and Sydney. The toy business is a tough one, and the competition plays it very rough indeed. Howard seems to me to be a wildly improbable toy man, but at least he understands finance and he's got the money. But that won't be any good at all unless they organize themselves differently and are prepared to face really radical change.
Well, I think for once I'm actually lost for words. However, I'm leaving Triang, and unfortunately I'm leaving a lot of friends that I've made in the toy industry. I wish you all a happy new year, and thank you very much.
I don't think my visit has influenced Shana's decision to leave in any way. But they are going to need radically different thinking if they're going to change enough to compete. Now I want to meet Howard and Sydney together. I've chosen the neutral ground of Triang's garden furniture distributor, where I hope to convince them of the size of the changes they need to make. You are not going to be able to compete in the long haul with the factory as it is at the present moment.
Compete with who? The importers?
Anybody.
With anybody?
Anybody. Ultimately, the factory is, in my judgment, fairly inefficient. It will not get more efficient. The plant is old. The plant is non-competitive, as Sydney knows. The layout, is...
Plant is old, but you use the word non-competitive.
Against the most modern plant in the world? Come off it, sir.
No, I don't agree with you, Sir John.
I don't care damn whether anybody agrees with
well,
it.
that's fine.
Do you have worries
are an
about
efficient company in the type of business we're in. So much so that Rolex have headhunted our people, our middle management. So and they took one from us only 18 months ago. So
first of all, as you know full well,
they don't
I'm not attacking you
Rose,
for being bad. Look,
no, we're good.
Look,
Sir John.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
as far as you're concerned,
we are good.
Well,
what we do, we are good. We stayed in business. We are making respectable profits now.
Sydney,
so we can't be bad.
Nobody's telling you are bad. What we're talking about is the future of the business. I do not believe that Triang can survive indefinitely on the factory as it is at the present moment. And you told me you didn't believe that. You actually said, why the hell are you thinking of even investing $1.5 million in new production machinery if you don't think you need it, Sydney? You've got to be...
We need it for expansion.
The problem is, if you're going to put that investment in, then you are changing the company. And you have ambitions to be much bigger, and I would like to see Triang much bigger. But if you're going to do that, Sydney, then the management and the management style are going to have to move up. You are about to double the capital that you employ in your business. And you're about to do it with your existing management, and you're happy about that. I'm not. But that has to be... Look, it's not my company. It's yours, Howard, and yours, Sydney.
The point is, we could quickly put 100, 200,000 on our overheads very quickly, just like that. Now, with the type of profits we are enjoying at the moment, it would cut into it. So it's the old thing, the chicken and the egg.
Yes, but... and I buy that entirely. But you see, the trouble is, you're going to put 200,000 on your overheads by the expansion, by spending the capital. And you've then got to be able to actually work that capital and work it in a different way. And you're going to try and build this company up, and I hope you do. Now, there's no way you can do that on your own, Sydney, whether you like the bloody overhead bill or not. And there's no way you can do it. You've got the numbers, but you haven't got the quality. Well, the other area that worries me, I must say, is if you, in fact, are going to have a major industrial relations situation around your neck.
Why should we have that?
Well, basically, well, you may well have one, because, as I understand it, the union are seeking recognition. And as I understand it, Sydney, you've not been happy to go to a ballot on this.
We have a works committee. We're a very happy workforce.
Well, you have got a works committee, and I asked to meet some of them, and they were not able to produce a member of the works committee for me to meet. And when I wanted to discuss the industrial relations with your managers, they were not happy about talking to me.
Unlike shop stewards, they've actually got a job to do. They have to work.
Well, so do shop stewards.
Do you see us facing what you might regard as the inevitable, in due course, of being forced to recognise a union? And if so, when?
What do you mean by work?
Well,
this thing?
The
point is, if they were to put it to a vote or what have you, there would be no problem. There would be a 95% acceptance.
Well, that seems an excellent idea.
Right. Okay. But but as far as trying is concerned, we don't recognise union. The mere fact that if we had a ballot that would say the union does exist in our... It does not exist as far as we're concerned. I hope I'm not giving you the impression I've got anything against unions.
Yes, you are, actually.
No, well, that's strange you should say that.
Well, because you just said that there's no way you'd work
Well,
with one.
I believe in unions in other plants.
Well, this is a problem which I don't think is going to go away. And in terms of investing money, it is a situation which one has to bear in mind. I mean, it may be that Sydney's lovable personality and splendid leadership will keep everybody happy for a very long time. But that's a judgment, frankly, that you and the investors have to make.
I'd just like to read to you a notice that is being posted today in the works. Having reached the age of 61, I feel that the time has come for a younger man to lead the group in the next stage of its development and growth. I have therefore agreed with the board that provided various resolutions are passed at the next annual general meeting to be held on the 24th of May 1988, I will retire at the time from the position of chairman of the group. With effect from today, John Veazey has been appointed Managing Director of Shana Trang Limited and Trang Toys Limited. And it is the intention for Howard Stanton to succeed me as chairman of the public company and as chairman of the toy companies following my retirement.
All that we have
that's
done
the pedal bike for the car.
That's a brake, actually.
A brake,
yeah.
Right. Now, there must be something very similar that goes into a pram.
Very similar.
So John's been useful in a number of different ways. His advice was that we need new machinery and we need different management, and that the two should go together. A lot of talking will have to be done with a lot of people before any decisions are made. We are not so desperate that we need to make immediate decisions or urgent decisions or desperate decisions.
In many ways, I'm sad that Sydney's gone, because the fact that Trang exists at all will always be a tribute to him. Howard Stanton and John Veazey have taken over now, and I know they intend to bring in new management, and I hope they're going to buy new machinery. They have at least got the chance now of having a go, and, so to speak, starting again and building up the strengths they need if they're to reinvest in the business, which is still the key to the whole thing. And only time will tell whether John Veazey and Howard can do that between them.
We came into Triang exactly a year ago today, and we found what we thought was a dream in terms of the brand and everything else. It turned out to be a nightmare. We had problems in every area that we came into, from the senior management to the middle management to the product development. Everything you care to think of was a major problem.
Now, Mike Ganley has come in from Waddington Games and taken over as chief executive. Things didn't work out for Howard. The attempts at diversification went wrong, and he and John Veazey have left. Mike Ganley has brought in an entirely new team of highly professional managers. Sadly, they've concluded it's too late to go on manufacturing, so the plastic moulding machinery has all gone. But Triang will be assembling bits made elsewhere.
I wanted you here, really, because we've had a very long year and a very tough year and a very hard year. There's been rumours that we've been moving, that we've been closing, that we've been going, that we've been coming. In fact, there's been so many rumours I've not known where I've been some days myself. The truth of the matter is that the mill will actually be flattened. When, we don't know. The mill, as most of you know, is an eyesore, and with our sort of product, you can't run a company efficiently in a 6-storey mill. But the good news is the factory, warehousing and assembly will stay on site in Droylsden.
Really what happened in Trying was that they lost the time race. The bad news is we lost 2 more years. And the nice ladies who were manufacturing the things have gone. We've contracted the business a little bit more. Now the good news is we're in with a chance. And as long as we've got the brand name, we're doing some assembly, and they're making things which get into the shops that kids want to buy, Trying can still come back.